First, a compelling business case, right? Obviously, it starts, which resonates with this session, because a compelling business case is birthed out of, innovation, isn't it? Of course, project preparations facilities can also help with refining the idea to make it a compelling business case. The second, obviously, being the enabling environment. Princess already spoke about that. There's no point repeating what has been said. I also agree with Chooks, that beyond a very stable policy environment, you also need some level of government patronage to serve as a catalyst, right? Patrick, I'm sorry about. Then you go with people. An example is what Chooks referred to about the TUV certification, right? It's partnership in some way, because that's a good stamp to have so that you can play on the international space. And the last for me, and I'm by no means an expert on this, is investment. Now, the scale and the pace that...
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. So, Patrick, so,
low OpEx? Are we able to build in the essential OpEx? Are we able to build in the essential to allow people to pay for essentially long before anyone was considering a smart program like Clever, and or $100. Is it not possible for people to pay that at once? No. That's like asking a rural Nigerian or a rural Kenyan to allow people to pay over a period of time, and it's affordable. So this model of pay-as-you-go solar for distributed solar kits, for solar home systems, has proven to be enormously successful. And you were talking about local financing. We've been really honored to work with Stanford.
At the end of another thing that's very important of all of them and the color they have. And of all of them and the color they have. And I have a personal testimony. When we started this business, and a lot of the people that we are quite very young, these are the people that the banks will never, but when you listen to them, you could see they were passionate and they had integrity. We took a list, funded the first set of 25 mini grids, and none of them defaulted, not single one. It's based on that with the bank approved another 100 billion naira. So a lot of this depends on individual developer and businessmen here. Depends on individual developer and businessmen here. The local capital, I believe, is here. And I know as a bank, as FNB, if you've noticed, almost all the issues I've mentioned on their own competency. So for me, we can actually be a hub for Africa solar value chain manufacturing. Everything that we need, we can still get more, and the government will do mutually. Everything that we need, we can still get more, and the government will do more to the entire opportunity. It could be painful to deploy 100 billion and watch all of those money leave, and go to other country, while we have capable people all around this room. And also open to partnership. I know we are having also some discussion, always pushing for more easier. And believe that also some discussion, always pushing for more easier. And believe that this time next year, when we are coming back, what we should be seeing will be the numbers of achievements that have been happening in the last 12 months. Thank you, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do give the moderator and the panelists another round of applause. Thank you. And it'll just be a quick photo session. Thank you very much once again. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The next is the breakout sessions, and we'd just like to encourage you to look in your programs and see where the appropriate hall, which you should be in here at the Congress Hall, is session A, and that's the future of energy in Nigeria, policy resources, potential. Session B will be at Borno Rivers, and that's on mapping the future, leveraging data and platforms for renewable energy investment and growth. Session C, standalone solar advancing Nigeria's development goals. So these are where the breakout sessions will take place all simultaneously. So if you do look in your programs, you'd find out, for those who are under session A, the future of energy in Nigeria, policy resources and potential, you would of course remain here in the Congress Hall. Anita Otubu, Senior Director, Sustainable Energy for All. That's here in the Congress Hall. That's for session A. The panelists, of course, Dr. Yusuf Ali, Ibrahim Sulu, Fatima Shinkafi, Saad Kamaldeen, and Wangari Muchiri. But that's for session A, which is here in the Congress Hall. Borno Rivers for session B, mapping the future, leveraging data and platforms for renewable energy investment and growth. And session C, Niger Plateau. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. So once again, we encourage you to look in your programs and see the appropriate sessions you belong to and make your way there. Okay. Yes, the MD is in session C, which is Niger Plateau. And as the panelists and the moderators make their way to the appropriate sessions, let me welcome the keynote presenter and moderator of the session here in the Congress Hall, Anita Otubu, Senior Director, Sustainable Energy for All. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And for this session, the future of energy in Nigeria, policy resources, potential, let me invite the panelists. They are here. Dr. Yusuf Ali, Commissioner, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC. Dr. Yusuf Ali here. Ibrahim
So you are...
Do we have Fatima Shinkafi, MD, Solid Minerals Development Fund, or her representative here?
There's lots of quite...
Do we have the panelists, Saad Kamaldeen, Country Manager, Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund, or representative? Right, thank you very much. A representative for Fatima Shinkafi. We have one standing in for Dr. Yusuf Ali. All right. Okay, thank you so very much. Now we do have the panel. Ladies and gentlemen, keynote speaker and moderator of the session, Anita Otubu, Senior Director,
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for staying behind to join this session. I know there are 2 other sessions going on at the same time, so I really do appreciate your presence. Like the other panel members and moderator, I too would like to thank the CEO, MD of the Rural Electrification, incredible, consistent progress and growth. Okay, Energy for All, which is hosted by, and I'm really excited to be talking at policy, resources, and potential in Africa don't have access to electricity. And Nigeria makes up a significant percentage of that 600 million people who don't have access. We're looking at Nigeria is actually paving the way, leading the way as it concerns bridging the energy access gap when it comes to policy, when it comes to regulation, when it comes to incentive, development partners about the future of energy in Nigeria. Vast natural resources can drive industrial growth, manufacturing competitiveness, and sustainable development. The discussion will focus on aligning national and fostering multi-sector collaboration to build a resilient and inclusive energy future. Now, without further ado, I would love to introduce my very esteemed and distinguished panel members. I will actually give them 2 minutes each to introduce themselves and tell us a bit about themselves before we delve into the questions. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon all. My name is Adam Haruna Ibrahim from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. I've been involved in the Nigerian power sector for the past 21 years, from NEPA to REA to the Commission. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I worked with Energy Commission of Nigeria for 18 years. I ended up as the Director of Energy Management, then retired as the Director of Renewable Energy Department. After my retirement, the DG said I should stay behind to work with him. So currently, I'm assisting the DG as the Special Assistant Technical to him. Thank you.
Thank you. You're most welcome.
Excellent. Warm greetings, everyone. My name is Engineer David Arinze. It's a pleasure to be here. I work as the Senior Portfolio Officer at African Enterprise Challenge Fund. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Abdul Majid. 6 years ago, I've been in the mining sector for the last 6 years, trying to unlock value for the whole country.
Great. Good morning, everyone. The Africa Director at the Global Renewables Alliance, and we've just founded the Nigeria Wind Energy Council. So fantastic to talk about wind as well on the panel.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. Head Renewable Energy Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Mr. Adamu Ibrahim. As Nigeria plans for the future of its energy sector, diverse energy resources, and private sector participation in driving a more sustainable and resilient power system.
Okay, for the Commission, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission recognizes that there's a need to change our regulatory approach. And in so doing, we want to align ourselves with the global energy transition and the domestic realities within Nigeria. So we recognize that the future grid must be flexible, it must be decentralized, and technologies the customers will be taken good care of. The focus for the regulatory process, the focus now is for the regulatory process. The Nigeria Electricity Commission has been working with REA, other ministries, and development partners to ensure that. So part of the restructuring that the Commission has been doing includes the net billing regulation that the Commission is developing at increasing the scope of the interconnected mini-grid to see that by increasing the capacity of interconnected mini-grid, presently it's limited to 1 megawatt. So the Commission is seeing how we can increase the scope to say 5 or 10 megawatts as to interconnect with the interconnected mini-grids. So these are some of the innovations the Commission has been doing to support the energy transition program.
I think that's fantastic, hearing that we're going to now increase the capacity from 1 megawatt, I believe, to 5 to 10 megawatts.
Yes.
Or 5 megawatts.
5 megawatts for now.
Can I ask what the time frame looks like when this is going to take place?
For the interconnected mini-grids?
Yes, for the increase in capacity becoming official.
I don't have a timeline right now, but probably, let's say, next 6 months. It's still work in progress.
I think it's great that it's actually even a discussion point and that you're working towards it. It definitely will see to a lot more speedy growth when it comes to bridging the energy access gap and getting a lot more participation from private sector as well as financiers. So that's fantastic to hear, sir.
Thank you.
Now, my second question goes to the Special Advisor from the Energy Commission of Nigeria, Mr. Ibrahim Sulu. Given Nigeria's vast and diverse energy resources, how is the Energy Commission ensuring that oil, gas, renewables, now I'm going to actually remove the oil and gas from this because working for sustainable energy for all, we promote renewables. So how is the Energy Commission ensuring that resources, natural resources and emerging technologies are strategically integrated into a coherent, long-term national energy vision?
Once again, thank you for inviting us, and I join other people for congratulating the REA for this wonderful event. Let me start with the primary mandate of Energy Commission of Nigeria is strategic planning and coordination of national policies. Sorry, in the light mode, here we have been hearing about solar. So I will not be talking about solar, but I'll be talking about the entire energy mix, the entire energy. So that is oil and gas, electricity, hydro, solar, biomass, and all these things. So that is the meaning of in all its ramifications. So we have to produce strategic plan, and then the electricity policy, the renewable energy policy, the end-use energy policy, that is the energy that is needed to move our transport, our industry, all these things. We are talking about everything. So that is the energy in all its ramifications. So what are we doing? What have we done? What are we doing? And what do we plan to do? As far back as in 1993, the federal government set up an interministerial committee, an energy commission was the secretariat, to produce the first national energy policy. So the draft was made then, and later, after 10 years, 2003, it was approved by the FEC. And the latest edition, that is 2022, was also approved. So this energy is a compendium of policies that has to do with oil, with gas, with nuclear, public building, residential sector. So the essence is that all these policies must be an integrated policy so that one sector will not get developed at the expense of the other. Now, so this is what we have been doing. Aside that, we also do projections on annual basis. Using the demographic data and socioeconomic data, we do different scenarios to project if we are developing if our GDP is growing at a certain percentage, what is the implication in terms of energy needs? So these are some of the things we are doing. So the structure and the also Energy Commission is in such a way that it enables us to carry out this function. That is, we have departments that reflect all the energy sector, the supply side and the end-use side, and then we also have research centers also reflecting the energy sector. So briefly, this is what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. I know the Energy Commission of Nigeria has been doing such a great job in, truly developing the policies needed to drive the energy space in general, not just renewable energy or energy access space. But what I would like to know, maybe those in the audience would like to know, is how is the Energy Commission of Nigeria going about collaborating with other key stakeholders? So, for example, some might say, there's similar activities being conducted by the Rural Electrification Agency. Are you working together? How are we ensuring that these great policies that are being developed by your organization are also being adopted and implemented across the sector?
Yes, we collaborate with everybody, but I think as a professional and expert in the sector, the country has problem in ensuring adequate synergy and collaboration, especially in the energy sector.
Yeah.
What do I mean? We have the Ministry of Power, we have the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, we have the Ministry of Environment, which is now playing active role in the energy sector. Then we have the end use, that is the transport separate, industry separate, but you cannot have an holistic and a very dynamic energy sector when there is no very strong bind with all this. So in many climes, even as Ghana there, what they have is Ministry of Energy, so that all energy issues are under the leadership of one individual. And it is easy, for collaboration, for streamlining, for integration, if this takes place. So I want to tell you that absence of that Ministry of Energy is hindering a lot of progress, and our collaborations, not only Energy Commission, but under MDAs too, mostly inviting each other to programs, all these things. But in most cases, everybody has his own agenda and everybody is working according to his own agenda. So I'm only talking for national sake, not trying to defend my organization or another person's organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I understand. And perhaps this question that I asked is beyond my pay grade. But thank you so much for answering, Sam. Now, I'd like to move on to the program officer at the... Nope, they've actually given me the wrong title for you. You're now at a different organization from the one that is here. Well, David Owenze,
Yes.
my dear friend and brother.
Yes, please.
How can catalytic financing instruments such as challenge funds and blended finance bridge the gap beyond or between policy ambition and bankable clean energy projects?
So a lot of regards and congratulations to the MD of RE in absentia and also the team behind this. I know it takes a village to put an event like this together. So please feel free to pat yourselves on the back for a job well done. To your question, Anita, very straightforward. How many of us are entrepreneurs in the room? Can I see by raise of hand? How many of you have tried to close financing, but you couldn't? How many of you think you are too smart, but the problem is that you are not still able to close it? No hands? Now, why am I asking these questions? A lot of people have tried to raise financing, but for one reason or the other, they are faced with different bottlenecks. Either the terms are too stringent, right? Or either that some of the compliance issues are issues that you cannot deal with. Now that brings me to my challenge funds, and that's why I decided to do that quick audit. When you're trying the market to be able to understand some of the pain points of entrepreneurs, sometimes approaching commercial financing means not just provide you with funds, but also provide the necessary technical assistance for you to be able to close those funds. Lawrence Edeke, when he was speaking about Get Finance, he said that we help companies prepare them to close commercial capital or to close some sort of financing. And within the sector can help. But it thinks about your project, that agenda, investability for your company. So when somebody is thinking, we have companies that a lot of people are technical founders, that true or false. And there's little to what you can do alone. So challenge funds and blended financing have been, like programs like ours, have been designed to not from others. And guess what? Financing, but come a year after, by the next time we're doing our next cycle, you have closed financing from 3 other organizations. So that is how we are thinking about it, not just from the point of blended financing, not just from the finance point alone, but what are those tools that you need as a company to engender
Thank you so much for that. As it concerns learn how to build education projects, emphasizing that to the audience today. Energy future today. Energy future. Solid minerals. The SMDF positioning Nigeria's solid minerals sector to serve as a strategic enabler of the clean energy transition and industrial growth.
Thank you very much. My boss, the executive secretary, was here earlier, but she had to join the CEO roundtable. We believe that the energy future is one that is completely integrated with the mining development programs that come after manufacturing in asset development, and for us at the Solid Minerals Development Fund, we're keen on changing this narrative. Yes, there is a lot, like 85 to 9 to do. We need to do them. So for the last 2 years, we funded for early stage private sector player to demonstrate that you do have the right plans and you know exactly what you're trying to do. Mining is a business that requires patient capital, requires that same capital market here in Nigeria. We know that there is and how private players can deliberate us because you must meet the operators where they are shallow deposits. I go to my banks to allow me to, that is the only way to develop the assets. There is no license the right way. Before DF, we can imagine $1 trillion. Imagine that these minerals, we know that this cleaning it up and improving the risk perception in the right rooms to get that patient capital into the sector to actually integrate, to stop exporting lithium dust with local value addition in these beautiful projects that we're thinking about. And I think this is the highest political will we have had in the sector in many, many years. And it's not just by mouth, there's investment in place to co-finance, to de-risk assets. And SMDF is step by step, the same way REA is amazingly lighting up one community at a time, the same way SMDF is trying to figure out how the way the 7-point agenda has put energy transition and the mineral sector hand in hand to unlock that value for the entire country. I think I'll stop here for further questions if there's any. Thank you.
Fantastic. Can I just ask you a follow-up question? You've mentioned REA, you've spoken about plans to eventually export, which is fantastic, knowing that it's not just a Nigeria problem, but it's an Africa problem. How are you working with the likes of REA to meet the demands presently in the country? As you're aware, there's the $750 million DARES program, which seeks to further bridge the energy access gap. Now, with these minerals that are being explored, how are you working hand in hand with the Electrification Agency, if you are, to support, I guess, private sector in deploying different types of resources for, I guess, those communities that don't have access to electricity?
Correct. Thank you very much. So, first of all, these mining operations that we think of, not the tiny licenses. We mean the big ones that have demonstrated those outcrops. Most of them are in off-grid communities. So what we are imagining is a situation where, as we're identifying these mining clusters, we're actually aggregating demand for energy. And we as SMDF can actually provide the guarantees or the support needed to ensure that those communities are well lit and for example, the women there can do business with access to energy at an affordable rate so that those communities can turn around. What mining does to communities is that it comes and brings prosperity to all when it's done properly. And that is what we as SMDF are trying to achieve. And a proof of concept is currently underway to unlock what that should look like. A lot of us in Nigeria actually have not necessarily seen mine site looks like in its full glory. You can imagine that community will never be the same. The kids will be in school, the medical facilities will be top-notch, even the staff at the mine sites up to their leaders would have their kids in that community school, to ensure that people actually have a better life and they have options, instead of running to the mine sites and working in unconducive, environments. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is actually ensuring that local value addition for lithium especially, because it's a low-hanging fruit for us, and we've demonstrated significant opportunities along that, and the government is keen to reduce the way we just export lithium as raw product. We want to encourage companies like Oxano to imagine themselves integrating even further down the value chain, and we're working with REA for the guidance on exactly how to position and support the existing manufacturers in that space.
I think that deserves a round of applause.
Yeah.
Nigeria is doing amazing things. Hey, now moving on to the last but not the least, my fellow woman on the panel and sister, Wangari Muchiri, who is the director for the Global Wind Energy Council. So she's Director Africa for Global Wind Energy Council. So my question to you is, wind energy has remained one of the least explored resources in Nigeria's energy mix, despite its vast potential across several regions. From Global Wind Energy Council's continental perspective, what critical policy, regulatory, and investment actions are needed to position wind as a viable contributor to Nigeria's clean energy transition?
Great. Thank you so much, my sister Anita, and really I stand on all protocols observed. Thank you to the organizers as well for having me. It's a tough act to follow after such a serious panel. And I think being the only non-Nigerian here as well, right? For the world. When you think of renewables, when you think of even wind, solar, a few years ago, I've worked in Nigeria since I moved, over 10 years. The conversation about renewable energy was not really there. There were very specific pockets where renewables was discussed, but to see a room like today was just, only a dream at that point. Now we're here, not only are we talking about we've heard the states today talking about all the renewables that are being installed in each state. We know what the policy has done to allow states to procure their own renewable energy and their own energy resources and take advantage of their own sources, even mineral resources, as was mentioned by my previous panelists. But now we're talking about scaling that and going into the manufacturing of this. And this has really been demand-driven. I know we've talked about policy a lot today, but if you think about the reason why renewables have really scaled in Nigeria is because the consumers have needed the power. They have needed the batteries and the solar. And so what that has meant is that they've gone, I know many people who, because of the fluctuation of power in their homes, they went and installed solar. How many times have we heard here today, I have a house that runs on solar. I have a house that is off-grid. So sometimes when you look at what the real drivers for renewable energy adoption is, and this is not just a Nigeria problem, this is an India problem, a Pakistan problem, a Kenya problem, it's a global problem. You find that the demand tends to speak for itself. Now, the industry and policy and government and all of us are now running behind it and saying, actually, this is really scaling up. And this is fantastic to see that people want this energy, and people want it to be cheaper, more affordable, easier to bring into the country, or easier to access from within the country. And one of the things that I think would be fantastic in terms of the policy, and I'll start with the policy before I go to the rest, is if there was a one-stop shop of some sort where we can, as manufacturers, as OEMs, as even the demand side, as consumers, can go and get information around this. And I think this is the first of many. I'm talking to my colleague Jeff, he was telling me that by the second one, the room will be double the size, right? If there's a place that we can all go, if we want to either manufacture, we want to supply, we want to build projects, that is a one-stop shop that makes it easy to really understand what the landscape looks like. I think that is really one of the things that can really help. And we're seeing this across the continent. In Kenya, we're establishing a one-stop shop with the Office of the President. And that is enabling us to say, anybody across the world who wants to come in and invest in the country and wants to manufacture, come and talk to us. We will be able to talk to the different agencies. I know in Nigeria at the moment, if you want to establish another Sunking, you need to talk to about 10 agencies to be able to get the licenses, to be able to register. How do we streamline those processes? Because money moves and investment moves with trust. And so to be able to do that, then that makes it easier for people to know what the processes are, for them to be more transparent, and for them to be quicker in terms of establishing and bringing more manufacturing into the country. I think the second thing, and also not to take too time, I think the second thing that's quite important is if we, and I think somebody spoke about R&D on the panel, if we take just a fraction of the profits that any of the companies are making in Nigeria, and say that we're going to put just 6% into R&D of these renewable technologies. We heard Sunkin earlier saying that they have a product development team in country, because the products I make for Nigeria are not going to be the same ones I make for Ethiopia, for example. If we put just a small fraction, and the reason I say this is because when you go to China, the biggest companies in the world, the Jinkos, the Longjis, all of them, even if their profits are in the billions of dollars, they still put 6 to 12% of their profits into their R&D, which means they're constantly innovating, they're constantly moving, they're constantly creating new products. And so if we're trying to continue innovating, we do not want to be left behind manufacturing panels that were only as efficient as 10 years ago, right? And that is the risk that we run in terms of investing in our R&D and in our academia. So I think ensuring that through policy, we mandate investment in research and development. It's really, really important. And the reason I say this is when part of my job is really enabling the international players to localize their manufacturing on the continent. And earlier this year, I was in China talking to 3 of the biggest manufacturers in solar and 3 of the biggest manufacturers in wind. And I asked them, what is stopping you from coming into Africa? What do you need for us to make it easy for you to come and establish factories in Africa? And the reason I asked this is because in Saudi Arabia, they're building some of their biggest solar and wind plants for manufacturing, and it's happening at an unprecedented scale. So I said, but why can't we do the same? Saudi Arabia was not far ahead of us in terms of renewables. In fact, they were behind us, right? As an oil and gas country. On the continent, we are not seeing that enabling policy that is just easy to predict, easy to transparent, easy to understand. And I'll give you what they told me when I asked them why you can't bring in the manufacturing into Africa just yet. They said, out of all the solar that we manufacture, this is now Jinko, this is one of the people I spoke to, out of all the solar that we manufacture, 50% of all panels that we create are for the local market. Then you go to 30% for Europe, 20% for the US, you keep going. So I said, okay, get to Africa. Africa is 1%. And out of that 1%, South Africa is 50% manufacturing of solar, then we can't have 0.5% of our market share. And a country like Nigeria, with over 280 million people, is really where the opportunity is. So when you say, think of how many households are going to adopt these renewable technologies, then that becomes a more interesting conversation for them. But what do we need? We need the policy, of course we need the funding, and I think somebody in the previous panel said that we also can't keep importing our funding. What are our pension funds doing? Our local banks? How do we ensure that it's much easier to fund local manufacturers on the continent or in Nigeria? So there's a lot. I could talk about this for hours.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to start to push the button and realize that our own local domestic markets is going to be what anchors innovation in the sector.
Thank you so much, Wangari. We tend to meet ourselves at a lot of conferences, and I know you're always complaining that there's too much focus on just solar, and not so much wind. And so really grateful to see you here in Nigeria. Would like to know who you're talking with, who you're working with, to develop these policies. So for example, you're working with the Energy Commission of Nigeria, Rural Electrification Agency. What are those conversations looking like right now? Is there progress?
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's a great question, Anita. I think I mentioned earlier in my introduction that we just founded the associations, Renewable Association. It's a body that is used to educate the market on what is possible within wind energy and that there is a wind energy resource in Nigeria. I've spoken to many people, and many people say, oh, no, there's no wind in Nigeria, there's no wind in Nigeria. Guys, there's wind in Nigeria. And now we need to start to educate the different markets. I mean, I was talking to the MD of the Plateau State Energy Corporation, spoken to Kaduna Electric this morning, I've spoken to a few discos. Last Sunday, I was speaking to Lagos State government. Everybody is interested. They say, oh, wind, we've actually never thought about it. And then when I talk to my members, so to give you an idea, all the top 5 Chinese OEMs or manufacturers and the top 5 Western OEMs, so the GEs and investors of the world are my members. And when I say, why not bring your manufacturing into Nigeria? They want to. They want to bring manufacturing into Nigeria. They want to work with Nigerians. They want to establish offices here. We were in China in April again, and I spoke to one of the biggest inverter manufacturing companies in the world, Goodwe. And Goodwe wants to expand its team here from 20 to 100 by next year only. And this is just the beginning, right? But how will we make it easy for them to be able to come in? So we're talking to a few of the players, some of the state governments, as I mentioned, Anita. We're also talking to the EU. The EU is actually helping us work on a resource mapping for wind in Nigeria, which will enable states to know that there is a lot of wind in their region and how they can now from there help unlock that. And then we're also talking to manufacturers. So after this, I'm going to be meeting Rise Energy in Dubai. They want to bring in manufacturing of small wind turbines into Nigeria. They're already working with First Bank and a few others in the country. And so because once we get to that critical mass, then we will see that manufacturing come in, we'll see the jobs come in, we'll see the investment come in. And I think it's important that the coordination of that is done, and we're doing that through the NWEC in Nigeria. Yes, and some are already coming in, as David says.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, I really want this to be as interactive as possible. I do have another round of questions, but I know that you guys probably have some burning questions inside that you would like to ask, having heard the various perspectives from this very esteemed panel. So I don't know if there's anyone to help me with the microphone to go around.
And how many minutes do I have left, sir?
I'll let you.
So do we have any questions? I see one hand raised up towards the back in the middle. Gentleman wearing grey, with the grey hat. So if you can ask your question and also who you're directing the question to, and if you can keep it very short, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I just want to ask on the issues of the renewable energy, the wind and also the solar. Really knowing that maybe both of them actually deals with batteries for energy storage. And we know that solar panels work during the day, and wind energy must surely work even at night. Is it possible to have the combinations for an installation, maybe for a house use or an office use, that maybe when solar panel works during the day, then the wind can take over at night? You just to know.
Thank you for that question. We'll take 2 more. Okay, I'm seeing 4 more hands. Wow. We'll take 2 at a time, 2 questions at a time. So the second question.
And thank you very much. My name is Abdurrashid Tajuddin. I'm referring my question to the last speaker there. You made mention of South Africa and Nigeria in terms of energy usage or something like that. And I just want to know, is it about the mindset of Nigerians? Because I can remember vividly some time back when it is all over the media that Aso Rock has been put on solar panels. Some people are making mockery of it, that everybody should forget about NEPA if Aso Rock have gone on solar. I think it's a mindset that we all need to know that be it wind, be it solar, be it hydro, it's all the same. It's just the mindset. So I don't know, just like the wind forum you made mention, Are you doing anything to change the mindset of Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you. So, first two questions. The first question is with regards to a hybrid system, wind and solar, can this work? And the second question, if I understood correctly, is to do with sensitization, helping or securing buy-in, I guess, from the majority as it concerns various sources of energy. Who would like to take the first question? Wangari?
Yeah, I think that's a great question around the hybridization of wind and solar. And this is something that, many people, I think a lot of people know about solar because you've seen solar on a roof, you've seen solar in your house, or somebody that you know has solar on their rooftop. But wind and solar are actually very complementary. So wind is better at night, and solar is better during the day. And that means that when you don't have as much solar at night when the sun is setting, you actually find that the wind is increasing. And in many countries where there is actually both on the grid, you'll see that they do complement each other quite a bit. And in some, now with solar, previous very low, then now it becomes quite an interesting conversation to hybridize, and they do work together. And funny enough, wind also works very well with hydro, because wind and hydro are also inversely related. When there's a lot of rain, wind is less. When there's less rain, there's more wind. So also people don't know that there's also that relationship between wind and hydro.
Thank you so much for that response. And then the second question regarding sensitization. Who would like to take on this question? Maybe...
Yes.
Okay.
If I get your question correctly, right, are you talking about the challenge of sensitization? It wasn't clear.
Yeah, so he had mentioned that...
Hello.
I guess...
I think let me make some clarification more.
Yes, please.
Yeah, you see, if you look at the mindset in Nigeria generally,
yes,
when we are talking of electricity, it's all about hydro. Most people believe it's hydro. Maybe now people are now thinking about solar.
Okay.
So I gave you an example of when the State House
announced that they were going to be solarizing the villa.
They're solarized or something like that. Even you say the whole country, a lot of people making mockery of it. So to me, I believe maybe something is not... No, we are missing the point that both, be it solar, be it hydro, the most important thing is for you to get the electricity.
I think you've answered the question. We just need to be more evangelist of solar. And let me just say that when we look at Nigeria's energy transition plan, it's clear on how best we want to meet our electrification targets, right? And whether we say solar, wind, hydro, these sources make up an energy mix, right? So you see situations. Today, there are some people that have solar in their houses, they have access to the grid, and they even have, sorry to say, backup generators that they don't use anymore. How many people have that kind of experience? Because the fact that your electricity from the grid is good and your solar is also good, some people don't use their generators anymore. Yes or yes?
Yes.
So, in yourself, you are a mix. Do you understand me? So what is most important is being able to ensure that people are aware of the options that exist. And even as we go a bit further, we now begin to consider the cost factor and the environmental factor. Now we will get to a point where it doesn't even make sense to run your generator. Are we getting it? Because take for instance that for every unit of solar generation you use or you utilize in your house, you get some sort of value. Would you run your gen? No. Are you getting me? So it's important that we understand that these are sources that are available to us. People should not make mockery of sources that are available. What you see right there is just an ignorance challenge, right? And we just need to keep on ensuring that we talk about this positively. And again, allow me to talk about this. The quality of installations, we shouldn't be having systems that are breaking down. And that's why it's important that the quality of technicians and the rest of them that are doing this, because every good project or solar project that is working goes to show how effective this technology works. Do you understand me? So everything goes hands in gloves, and we just need to understand that we need to talk much more positive about the solutions that is available to us. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Now I can take another, let's say 4 questions. Let's take 4 more questions.
Okay, 4 questions.
Thank you very much. My name is Ahmed Rufai. My question goes to...
Please be audible, sir.
My name is Ahmed Rufai. My question goes to the second to the last speaker that spoke a lot about mining. There's a lot of talk about mining these resources to make sure that we don't import the materials that are needed for
Sorry, if you can speak to the mic.
There's a lot of talk about sourcing the materials that are needed for like renewable energy here in Nigeria. What are the steps that have been taken to ensure that they are sourced sustainably and responsibly so that we don't run into problems like Congo and...
Thank you. Thank you very much for that question. Do we go around or I go ahead?
That's fine, you can go ahead.
Oh, thank
and then
you.
we'll take the next question.
So that's a very important question. And to be honest, that's one of the main reasons why, we at SMDF seem to have a lot of questions to answer, because we seem to be a bit slow, right? Because the current mining operations that we have in the country would struggle to pass a responsibility test, maybe because of the way it's currently being mined with very crude tools, without the relevant safety precautions, and without a plan, really, going, deep into the ground without any, and so on. So this is the issue. But if a company actually applied the right way for their exploration license before they went on to start mechanizing their operation, which is what you're supposed to do, you would be in a position where you would be operating in a more formal structure. So, for example, we have the responsible sourcing framework for gold in Nigeria designed by the Solid Minerals Development Fund. And this is to support the National Gold Purchase Program, because every single gold that you want to use for foreign reserve purpose has to pass the responsible sourcing test to be accepted in a good delivery list refinery, for example. So that kind of approach is what we're using to look at lithium, for example, nickel, manganese, and things like that. It's one mineral at a time, because the chaos has already happened. You can't use a magic wand to get rid of the entire chaos, but we can, while formalizing what already exists, we can plan to do it better when there is another proof of concept for us to demonstrate what local value addition looks like in a responsible way.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Okay, the respected panelists, I think my question will be more directed to the Solid Minerals Development Fund. I am from Nasarawa State. I would like to first commend the Rural Electrification Agency, because in my hometown there is a solar panel hub established in Alwaza community by the REA, and as a community, we are just a settlement away from the town. But a local man from that community can now brag to people who live in the Duma metropolis that they have more power supply than those in Duma. If you know Duma local government in Nasarawa State, I believe the REA can know what they did there. That's commendable anyway. My question is about the mineral exploration. I'm from Nasarawa State. We are the home of solid minerals. We had the presence of foreign investors earlier. I think I can see most of them. The members of the diplomatic corps, which in their presence it was mentioned that the future of Nigeria cannot continue to be imported. We need to start it now. And it is obvious that most of the exploration of our mineral resources are carried out by foreign companies in our local environments. These resources are localized in our community, Yes, we agree that they will be processed in our community, but what are the templates being set on ground that in the future, these foreign investors will not be afraid? I know they are going to be afraid to teach our people, to put our people through the process of that exploration so that in the future, they will not be out of the exploration system. Now, as Nigeria, as our own government establishment, what are you guys putting on ground to see that these local people who are recruited by this company to be given stipends to join them in processing those minerals in the future become the major explorers of those mineral resources? Thank you.
Great question.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Solid mineral.
Yeah, back to you to respond.
Thank you very much for the observation and also the comment, pretty much. So, I said earlier that most of our current mining operation is artisanal. And we have found ourselves at SMDF having to basically accept the situation as it is, but make the most out of it moving forward. What does that mean? Instead of, keep calling, these miners illegal miners, we decriminalize them and we've put them through a program that formalizes them. So we're not formalizing them for them to be encouraged to continue to do artisanal mining. We're formalizing them for them to, at the moment, be more productive and be trained to be the first set of staff that will be recruited into the junior mining companies that we are encouraging and attracting to come into the country as we are improving the risk perception of the country. So we are doing a lot of work around data gathering and exploration activities the right way. I know part of what you kind of are describing is exploitation activities, not like a well-programmed exploration activity, because in that sense, the people who would work for such a company would actually have a formal job. But what you may be describing is maybe a foreigner has met somebody with a license and they've organized between themselves to recruit some laborers and artisans who are now exploiting the ground in different ways, and so on. But things like that, we encourage the license holders to basically follow the rules of what the license category provides for them. If you have a exploration license, you have a term limit, you must have demonstrated financial capacity and the capability to actually carry out a detailed exploration program to deliver a standard reserve estimate, which can lead to, more finance and so on. So to answer your question, we're basically attracting them to our program, formalizing them, training them and preparing them for the junior mining companies who would come and carry out proper mining operations in the country, and they are here.
Thank you. I've been told that we have just 10 minutes left, but I'll try and answer or get the panel members to answer each and every question that we have left. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. My question goes out to, first of all, I'm Abba Hayatuddin from the RA. My question goes to the Director of Africa Wind Energy Council. What role do you envisage wind playing, right? Not just within the energy mix, but specifically within the context of decentralized renewable energy systems, right? I say that because it's quite important to understand that at the REA, we've done a number of programs and projects. Most revolve around energy access. And you would find that a lot of the projects are solar-driven. That's the technology of choice, right? We had a couple of meetings with some wind promoters wherein they stated that wind is quite cheap in some instances. You're seeing an LCOE of 2 cents, right? But most of that, I take, is because that it's utility scale. Will that remain true if it's scaled down to more to suit the distributed problem that we have in the country? I'll give you another example. We recently concluded the National Electrification Strategy and Implementation Plan. It's based on a least cost model for us to achieve universal access. In that least cost development plan, just about 25% of the communities are better served by grid extension projects. Right? Around 45% are best served by standalone systems, and about 30-something% mini grids, right? So I guess that is the picture that we're working with, and I'm kind of wondering what role wind has in this particular space. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. And I think that's it's a fantastic question, because when you think of wind, everybody thinks big wind farms, 6 megawatts and above per turbine. But a lot of people don't know that there's actually, you can get a wind turbine that's 400 watts, which is smaller than a solar panel. So you can have wind that is from 400 watts all the way to the big machines, which are offshore, which are 12 megawatts per machine. And because of that range of wind, then you really can play within different sectors. Now, in the energy access conversation in Africa, wind is actually left out quite a bit. And it's because of this perception that wind is only big boy toys, right? It's only utility scale, it's far out, it has to connect into a centralized grid, when that is really not the case. We have wind that is powering off-grid systems, and the same way that you think of solar lighting, solar cooling, solar irrigation, you can also do wind irrigation, wind cooling, wind drying. And it's just a matter of how you apply the technology within the productive use, right? So we are starting, actually, we're doing a pilot project in Lafayette State, where we're going to have wind and solar working together in irrigation or in an agricultural context to showcase wind in that context as not grid or utility scale. It's more energy access, productive use conversations. And across the continent, you'll see many of this, where it's 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt projects, small projects that are not the large utility scale stuff that we normally see when we talk about wind. And I think that perception is really important to change, for people to know that there is small wind that can play within the mini-grid sector. Actually, one of the things that I've spoken to AMDA, the Africa Mini-Grid Developers Association, is how can we work with AMDA to help capacity build their members around integrating wind into their mini-grids. So, there's different players who develop mini-grids. Most only do solar and batteries. How do we make it easy for them to access wind, whether it's through even grants that they can add onto their projects, so to have a wind turbine complementing their solar. And we've also spoken to the REA as well to see how we can do a proof of concept with a wind turbine in one of the mini-grids for people to see, feel, touch, and know that there's wind, and it can be in the energy access conversations as well.
Thank you. One last question. Oh, 2 last questions.
Good evening, all. My name is Paul. I know time is fast spent. Let me just go straight to the question, and it's to the SMDF. Please, I don't know, that fund, is it available for people who want to go into mining and people who want to go into manufacturing? I ask that question because it has been proven, like the young man from Nassau and many other states, that we have enough lithium here. So I'm just asking, why are we not manufacturing? Because in all the renewable energy, battery is the key. So why are we not manufacturing battery here, since we have abundance of lithium? And what is that fund doing to encourage local manufacturers of lithium battery? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me talk a little bit about the fund. So we're a government vehicle designed to de-risk the mining sector to attract further private sector-led investments. So across capacity building, provision of infrastructure, data acquisition and exploration activities, and unlocking of investments for growth, for mining sector growth. So the fund has, we have different thematic funding vehicles at the moment. On our website is well laid out in detail. And the one that is currently available is the AFC SMDF Project Development Facility, which allows you to access funding to further develop your assets that has been slightly de-risked by you up to feasibility level. But as I speak to you, I think we've all just missed an announcement at the mining week, where the minister has just announced that there will be some grants available for mining sector operators. actually to unlock more value, because we've realized that the loans is very tricky for a mining operator as things are right now to be able to make any profit, talk less, pay back, money. So it's better for you not to say you're giving loan that you're almost sure will never come back. It's better for you to, give grants to a couple promising projects, and a couple of them would see the light of day. That's one thing. And the other thing is, I think you're asking specifically for funding that would support maybe manufacturing directly. At the moment at SMDF, we've not yet integrated to that extent to fund projects that are manufacturing. We are seeking to unlock more mining assets that can provide information about reserve estimates that we can aggregate together and unlock a good amount of patient responsible funding that would give us assets with reserve estimates that can lead to other processing, other midstream value being unlocked. For example, you can't really have a tin smelter if you're not sure of the feedstock that will keep that smelter upstream all the time. You can't really have a gold refinery without a reserve estimate that demonstrates to you that you would always be able to run that refinery for as long as the investment, is required, and so on. And if you can see what's happening in the lithium space, where we're encouraging local manufacturing, they're raising finance from, other interesting sources, like leveraging funding that supports export and import, and things like that from the Nexim Bank and other places. So at the end of the day, is step by step, right? There's limited resources, and we must make the most out of it by prioritizing what would bring the most value in this moment, for the sector. Thank you.
Thank you. I have 2 minutes left. I think it's enough for one more question. I'm so sorry. And I'm very happy that it's very interactive.
Hi, my name is Anthony Feitimi. Wangari, it's good to see you again since Baku. Naseni has existed since 1992, a mandate to develop indigenous technology. We have PEBEC that is working on general business environment reforms. We've had presidential initiatives over and over again. For this panel, and I know Wangari alluded to the fact that we need a one-stop shop for transactions and conversations coming into Nigeria. The specific question I want to ask is, what specific institutional reform, not general coordination, but actual structural change, would you propose to prevent our solar manufacturing and wind manufacturing conversations from becoming another siloed initiative? And critically, which agencies would you recommend should lose some authority or jurisdiction for this reform to work? I know this is a very loaded question, but I would like solid answers that are very direct versus these platitudes that we tend to pay when we have this sort of conversations.
The panel?
Who would like to answer that question?
I can start.
Can I? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
No, I was going to ask for anyone who hasn't answered any of the questions from the audience. Thank you.
Okay. Just a perspective. One of the ways. See, every country has a driver for a particular sector. Automobile sector. You hear Benz is a name. In US, Ford is a name of an individual. India, Tata is a name. So one of the models or one of the approaches is, can we have an individual who is good in the business and government give him what is needed to lead the process? So this is one of the models that you can use.
Wangari, would you like to also add? Thank you for that response, sir.
Yeah, okay. I think your question is loaded, and we only have one or less, now time is up, but I do not see an initiative like this sitting in one siloed organization or institution. I think this needs to be, needs the highest level of buy-in politically and in government. And so what we've seen that works in other countries, and I'll give an example in Kenya, we're currently working on the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative. And this is where we're going to different off-takers of green steel, fertilizer, sustainable aviation fuel, different products of renewable energy that need to be coordinated not only from a technology status, and for it to not end up being another siloed conversation, is if you have a one-stop shop within the presidency, within somewhere where it's there's a, I think he said one person. I don't think it's just one person, but an institution that can call the 7 or 8 agencies together for a meeting. I'll give you an example now. In Kenya, Ken Invest, which is Kenya Invest, it's an investment initiative, is actually coordinating this within the office, within Kenya, but it's also been highly supported by the climate envoy who sits with the office of the president. So it's not just one person, it's 2 people, but they have the convening power of all the different institutions that will enable decisions to be made faster. If you have a tax person, if you have a, let's say, technology person sitting in the same room, maybe Ministry of Energy and Treasury, and you're talking about tax incentives like, zero taxes for solar imports, that conversation needs to happen at the table with everybody around the table, not just let's back to the Revenue Authority, let's go back to Treasury. That's not going to work. So for it to really work, it needs to be at that highest level.
And just allow me to add, right? This is already ongoing. You see, the Presidential Initiative for Enabling Business are already creating a platform where they are inviting relevant stakeholders. You see, the likes of, there was a lot of praise for Oxano and the rest of them in the previous panel, because they are calling them together to understand what the pain points are and how can we scale what you're already doing, right? So just to say that government is already taking that initiative to do this. However, it does not take away the fact that there needs to be constant coordination. Allow me to sing the praise of Anita and her team with the Africa Renewable Energy Manufacturing Initiative, I think the RME. It's also another coordination body that is doing this as well. So this is already happening. And we have seen that we don't just need a few names, but we need people who are willing to take the guts to make that investment, to take the bull by the horn and say, hey, this is an opportunity that exists. And what are the various financing mechanisms that are in place that we can take advantage of? Our program is one of them. And like we mentioned, the Energy Enterprise Challenge Fund, which is going to be launched in a few months, is also creating a huge opportunity for companies who want to go into manufacturing to come and say, hey, we want to do this. We are willing to come with some capital and we need some grants, and we'll support you. And like I said, it's not just the finance alone. We are willing to work with you by the hand, provide the relevant technical assistance that ensure that your projects are bankable and are commercially viable, and you must scale. So we have all of these indicators at the back of our mind. Thank you. Anita.
Thank you so much. So just to summarize, my key takeaways from this very insightful and progressive conversation are as follows. The future must be green. In achieving this, there has to be a level of flexibility in policy and regulatory development. However, these policies cannot be truly effective without strong synergies across government and key stakeholders. Though blended finance and challenge funds are important, technical assistance is critical if we truly want to encourage local participation in the energy access space. So as we speak about local participation, the future, as we've heard from this panel today, cannot be dependent on exported goods and materials. However, as our panel today has also informed us, such mining activities have to be done in such a way that is sustainable and inclusive. So with that being said, I'd like to thank my very distinguished and esteemed panel members, and also those of you in the audience who have helped me with my job in asking the various questions that you asked today. So thank you so much, and have a pleasant and fantastic evening.
Thank you very much, and now we just keep the applause going for the moderator and the panelists. Thank you so very much. Just a quick photo shoot, and we'll ask the Executive Director of REF to join them on stage there for... Thank you very much. And now to wrap it up, let me invite Honorable Doris Ubo, Executive Director REF of the Rural Electrification Agency. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an impactful day. Please give yourselves a round of applause for blazing the trail since 9 a.m. till now. That means REA has managed to engage you, kept you interested in this topic of the day. I'm very happy that all of you are here today. One second. That note, yeah. The note. Yeah, that. Thank you. Yeah. So, this has been the first Nigeria Renewable Energy Forum, and I hope it is beginning of more fora to come. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to stand on existing protocol. As we conclude this significant event, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all those who have contributed to this success. Our esteemed speakers, panelists, exhibitors, partners, the MC, our icon Cyril Stober, who did a marvelous job. Yes, he deserves a round of applause. And every participant engaged in this important dialogue. We have managed to interest all of you in Nigeria renewable energy space that is growing, and we have showcased that Nigeria renewable energy space is open for business. Not only are we open for business, we are gradually moving from a country of importation of renewable energy components to a manufacturing country. We demonstrated this possibility today, where we heard a manufacturer who stated the first locally manufactured PV was exported to a neighboring country, Ghana. You can clap for Nigeria. It is a step in the right direction. We had different states who have stated that they are ready for business. They gave you reasons why you should come to their various states to establish either your manufacturing or you are developing. But I think today's topic has been basically on manufacturing. However, the ultimate value of this gathering will be reflected in the actions we take moving forward. Let us leverage on the knowledge, the partnerships, and innovation and motivation gained here to drive meaningful change within our communities, organizations, and policies. Collectively, we possess the capacity to illuminate homes, empower industries, and safeguard not only our country, but the entire planet. On behalf of the REA, which I belong to, and especially our MD, whom we like to call the Capacity MD, thank you all once again for your dedication, your engagement, and unwavering support in promoting renewable energy, especially that is opening business in manufacturing. I wish all of you safe travel home, and please join us tomorrow. It is a 2-day engagement, and more topics will be discussed tomorrow. More interesting things will be brought to your attention. Thank you all for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.
I thank you so very much, Honorable Ubo. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this brings to a conclusion today's opening session, the first in 2 days. Just a quick reminder that 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, the registration will begin, and hopefully we'll get underway at 9:30 with the very first presentation. So we'd like to encourage you to be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.